What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Is Zach Gallen and Christian Walker officially back after leading the Dbacks to a victory over the Texas Rangers?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, a multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, MillardThomas24downmyportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're talking about Zach Gallen and Christian Walker. Are they back for the Dbacks after leading them to victory over the Texas Rangers? I just realized for the YouTube audience, if you look at the rundown, I spelled the word "and" wrong. I apologize to you guys. Then we'll also take a look at some of the contract options for the Dbacks players and whether or not the D-backs should pick up those options. Thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. All right. Let's get into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And let's talk about tonight's victory over the Texas Rangers. The D-backs have needed a victory over the Rangers because, of course, the D-backs lost the World Series to the Rangers. And then so far this year, they have not played Texas too well, you could say, because Texas has been 0-2 against the D-backs this season. So you think about the World Series, you think about the regular season, it has been domination for the Texas Rangers. So the D-backs really needed a little confidence boost against Texas, a little revenge as well, and they had to defend their home turf, and that's what they were able to do. Revenge, maybe not as sweet as if you could do it again in the postseason, get a World Series rematch. But for right now, considering the Rangers look like they're going to be on the outside looking in of the postseason, and again, this victory is only going to help the D-backs get even closer to securing their postseason spot. I wish we could get the rematch in the World Series, but we'll take this for now. This is the only revenge the D-backs could get. Zach Gallen, of course, pitched in the finale in the World Series, had a no-hitter going for a few innings there, but ultimately the D-backs lost that game, lost the World Series, and we know he was a guy entering this game. Watch out, because knowing Gallen, he's a guy that gets up for these type of games. He's got that dog in him, as the kids like to say, and he's a guy that likes the pressure. Does he always live up in the highest pressure moments? I don't know. That's another question for another day, right? We've seen him struggle in some big postseason moments, but we do, at least I do believe he wants to be in those big moments. I believe he likes those moments. I don't know if he always thrives in those moments, but I know he wants to be in the situations where you have to rely on your big game pitcher. And he came through, got a little bit of revenge in this game. And I thought it was one of the better Zach Gallen starts. He is starting to look like himself once again, which is such a positive sign for the D-backs. 2 of his last 3 starts has been phenomenal. Of course, in his most recent start, the pseudo no-hitter, 6 innings, no hits, 8 strikeouts. And then in his start against Boston, 6 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs. So 2 of his last 3 starts, 6 innings, no earned runs. And then his start tonight, 5 innings, no earned runs, 2 hits allowed, and 7 strikeouts. And I thought his command of just getting better. He threw a lot of pitches in this one, had some full counts, but outside the first inning, moved pretty quick. Maybe he threw a ton of pitches because he had a bunch of 2-strike counts, but that's how you get to the 7 strikeouts if you're Zach Gallen. Yes, he threw 94 pitches in 5 innings, but I thought the command looked a lot better, generated a lot of whiffs and swings in this game. 32 swings, 9 whiffs. I thought this was a very good Zach Allen game. And I think recently, 3 of his last 4 starts now, you could say that about Gallen starting to track and trend in the right direction as we get closer to the postseason. We need his counterpart to do the same. Merrill Kelly, he goes in game number 2. If he can put together another impressive outing as well, now you got consecutive outings by your 2 frontline starters as you get closer to the postseason. That definitely raises the confidence of your fan base and everyone in that locker room. So great job by Zach Gallen tonight. And one thing that also raises the confidence, seeing your first baseman, who's been a little rusty since coming off the injured list, 2-run home run for him tonight. After getting it started in the first inning, we know the D-backs like to strike first, like to strike early, and that's what they did. Jock Peterson starts it off with a no-doubter, 450-foot bomb by Jock Peterson, 108.9 miles per hour off the bat. Of course, a home run in all 30 ballparks. And then you also got that Christian Walker home run right after him, which was also a massive bomb. That one was 104.5 miles per hour off the bat, 374 feet, only a home run in 26 of 30 ballparks. If you could believe this, Christian Walker righty would not have been a home run in Fenway Park. His second home run would have been a home run in 24 of the 30 ballparks. Again, not a home run in Fenway Park. So some fun facts there. Christian Walker hits 2 home runs. We know him as a power righty, and neither one would have been a home run in Fenway Park. That tells you about the oppo power for Christian Walker. Great to see him get going. Great to see Jock Peterson. And also Corbin Carroll had a great drive off the wall. He is putting so much power right now into his swing. The turnaround by Corbin Carroll has been really phenomenal to see over the last couple of months, and he is cruising his way as we enter the postseason. The speed feels like it's back for Carroll. Seems like he's getting more aggressive on the base pass. Torrey setting him more than ever. 27 steal of the season for him. D-backs still need to convert more runners in scoring position. 1 for 9 tonight, but everyone in your lineup who is a starter got a hit except for Ketel Marte. Pavin Smith added on some insurance runs late. So did Jose Herrera. You got the guys on the margins to play a good game for you. Everyone contributed in this game, and it ended up being a very good performance by the D-backs overall. They get a shutout of the Texas Rangers. You get 6 runs by your offense in the bullpen. Torrey Lavello did not mess around tonight. Ginkle, Thompson, Puck, Martinez, they all shut it down. Puck and Martinez, 5 strikeouts between those two, absolutely shut down. Great job by the D-backs. They play a near perfect game against the Texas Rangers. And let's hope with Merrill Kelly on the mound going to game 2, we can get a repeat performance and sweep those Texas Rangers. Now I want to talk about which players we should pick up the options on in segment number 2. But hey, if you want to bet on the D-backs beating the Texas Rangers in game number 2, then the place you want to go to wager is going to be FanDuel, because you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Plus, FanDuel still has my favorite little thing, the same game parlay. Give me the D-backs money line, the over on Corbin Carroll total bases, and a Eugenio Suarez RBI. When that 3-leg hits, it brings a big smile to my face. If you want a big smile on your face, just visit fanduel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, all right, all right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, and let's talk about players and options, because we're getting close to the end of the season, guys. It's crazy to think about that. We're almost here. The season's almost over. I'm getting a little antsy, right? I talked about this the other day on the podcast. It's like being a long road trip, 12 hours, and you hit that last hour and just get a little antsy in the car. That's how I'm feeling. I want the postseason to come already. One, because I'm excited to see the D-backs in the postseason, and two, because I want to see the D-backs in the postseason because that NL wild card is getting dangerously close. D-backs thankfully get the dub today. They're currently tied with the San Diego Padres, who look like they're going to, I believe, beat the whoever they're playing today. If they already didn't get the victory, yeah, they already beat the Mariners. So D-backs and Padres are neck and neck in the standings, half game behind the Padres right now. The Mets creeping up on them. So it's like, I want the postseason to come already because I don't want to live on the edge of my seat for the next 3 weeks. I want the postseason to be here already. And I want the D-backs to be playing in it. And it's going to be close, but let's actually stop talking about the rest of this regular season because I am way too anxious about it. Let's talk about next year's team a little bit and look at the contract statuses of some dudes under contract and the guys who have options to return to next season because there's 4 D-backs players who are option eligible. I could be wrong because sometimes when I do these things, I am wrong, but I am on Spotrac, however you pronounce it. I am looking at options for next season. And we're going to go through who the D-backs should bring back courtesy of these options. First guy we're going to talk about, Eugenio Suarez. And it's crazy to think about because if you ask someone, hey, should the D-backs pick up the $15 million club option on Eugenio Suarez on June 27th when he had a 212 average and like a 66 WRC plus? That person, me, every D-backs fan in the world would have told you, do not pick up that option of Suarez. If anything, trade Suarez now. Make another team make that decision. DFA Suarez. It does not matter. Do not bring Suarez back. He is not a major league player. That's what we would have told you on June 27th. But since that date, Suarez has been arguably the best player in the National League. Not counting today's stats, in his last 63 games, Suarez, 315 average, 1012 OPS, 172 WRC plus, 20 home runs, and 58 RBIs. He has the highest OPS, WRC plus, tied for the most home runs, and the most RBIs since July 1st. He's quite literally been the best offensive player in the National League since June 27th. That's how crazy this turnaround has been for Eugenio. And now, when you look at his club option, I think it's an emphatic yes. Suarez is on track right now. His turnaround has been so pronounced. He hasn't just become the best player in the National League in the second half and like the MVP of the second half of the season. He's on track to have like one of his best seasons since like 2019. Like at one point, Eugenio didn't look like a major leaguer. Now he might have his best season since 2019 of the last 5 years. Like that's how crazy the turnaround has been for Suarez. And considering the club option is $15 million, that would make him tied for like the 9th highest third baseman next year. I'm definitely bringing Suarez back. If he can replicate what he did this year, I don't care if it's a terrible first half and then a great second half. I don't care if it's this full season, but just a little bit more stable. Whatever Eugenio has to do, if we get this production again next year, I'll definitely take it. This is all I wanted for Eugenio. This is actually even better than I wanted. A 250 average and almost 800 OPS, 26 home runs, over 90 RBIs. Like this is a fantastic Suarez season. And if we could get anything close to this next year, I definitely want to bring him back on that $15 million price tag. How about a little Randall Grichuk? This one's actually a mutual option for $7 million. And for me, I'm saying, hell yeah, bring back Randall Grichuk at that price tag. Actually, it's only $6 million for Randall Grichuk. The only issue for me is I don't know if Randall Grichuk wants to come back. I'm sure he likes the team. He likes the clubhouse. He likes the organization. I just feel like Grichuk thinks he's probably better than the opportunity he's given, and he could probably command a little bit more money potentially. 6 million might be in his ballpark, but regardless, he can at least probably get a better role out there where he's playing more than just half the season because Grichuk is someone that I don't think has been hurt at all this year, and he's probably only going to play like around 100 games. Maybe Grichuk thinks he could play around like 130, 140 games instead of like around the 105 to 110 games is going to play with the D-backs this season. Grichuk has been so good for the D-backs this year. He's been a solid corner outfielder. When you look at the clutch stats for Randall Grichuk this year, That's where he's really impressed me, at least. A 290 average and 943 OPS with runners in scoring position. He's been absolutely clutch. I think he's been an underrated part of this team because it's easy to look at Christian Walker, defense, power, Ketel Marte, MVP the whole season, Corbin Carroll, reigning rookie of the year, who had the struggles and now has turned it around. Even a guy like Eugenio Suarez has a lot of acclaim, and there was a lot of expectations, when he was acquired by the D-backs because they really needed a third baseman. Then he had his struggles, and now he's had his turnaround. So it's like all these guys have had different narratives and a different claim to the microphone for people to talk about them. But Randall Grichuk has flown under the radar and has had just like a really good season all year. I mean, over a 800 OPS, like a 275 average. Like it's been a really, really good, strong season from Randall Grichuk. And I hope the D-backs can bring him back. I mean, I think a $6 million price tag is almost criminal for the production that Randall Grichuk has provided to Arizona this season. I mean, I would almost hope that the D-backs could say, let's decline that and actually give you a little raise, Grichuk, because we actually value so much. We think you're worth a little bit more than that. I'm actually not upset at all. The D-backs were like, here's $2 million more dollars. Let's make it an $8 million deal, Randall Grichuk. I would not be mad at all at that. I love what the D-backs have done with this double DH. I think has been so strong this season. And they've been able to play both of those guys a ton. I mean, 93 games. I'm sure Grichuk would like to play more. Kevin Newman has appeared in more games this season than a Randall Grichuk. So maybe that's like one of the reasons why he's like, I can't come back because I'm just not getting as much opportunity as I deserve. But the pinch hitting, he's been clutch. Runners in scoring position, he's been clutch. He's been a great clubhouse guy. He's been a solid defensive outfielder as well. I love Randall Grichuk, and I hope the D-backs can come to an agreement or we bring him back because I think he's been great as a defensive player, as a corner outfielder, as an offensive player, and as a DH for the D-backs this season. And speaking of DHs, the D-backs other half also has an option, which we'll discuss in segment number 3. But hey, if you're looking to buy tickets to an upcoming D-backs game, then the place you want to go, of course, is going to be Game Time because Game Time is the best place for last minute ticket deals. Save money on tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They have this all in pricing feature. When you toggle it on, it shows you the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view from your seat before you buy, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Let's get back into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Let's talk about some other player options. The next guy I want to talk about is the other half of the DH, Jock Peterson. And the D backs, again, definitely need to bring Jock back. Right now, I mean, the way I view this D backs team, assuming it doesn't collapse, even if it does collapse, like I want to bring this team back next season. I think this team on paper is like as close to perfect as you can get. I mean, the offense is deep, the offense is nice, the pitching, I think, has great depth in the rotation as well. The bullpen has great depth. I just think at times the bullpen hasn't been good enough. The rotation hasn't lived up to its potential. It's been in and out with health and injuries. So I think there's been a lot of factors as to why the D backs might, if they don't make it to the postseason, I think there's a lot of factors there, despite their team being super talented. If you guys are on the YouTube video, you can see my cat just jumped onto my lap. So hopefully he's a good boy for the rest of the podcast. But this D-backs team, I'm at the point where I'm just like, bring it back next season. I mean, maybe make an upgrade in the bullpen, maybe do something with Jordan Montgomery, of course. But right now, I think on paper, this is as good of a D-backs team as you could build. And right now, it's like, I'm going to say, let's try to run it back because I feel the same way about Jock Peterson. I mean, so many of these players are having borderline career seasons with the D-backs or some of the best seasons that they've had in a long time. I mean, even a guy like Randall Grichuk, I mean, the numbers he's putting up this season are better than the numbers he's put up like the last few years. When you look at his average and OPS, like this is like the best Randall Grichuk season since like 2018 and one of his best seasons in his career. Eugenio, like I just said, might be his best season in the last 5 years. And now Jock Peterson, you look at his stats. This might be the best season of Jock Peterson's career. I mean, he's not going to hit a career high in home runs, but he has a career high in OPS right now, and the numbers are insane. And his average is a career high as well. Like this might be the best season of Jock Peterson's career. He's getting close to, he might finish second most RBIs in his career for a single season as well. So Jock Peterson's another guy. It's like, how do you not bring him back? When you look at all these guys having fantastic seasons for your ball club, the Grichuk, the Suarez, now Jock Peterson, it's like if every guy's going to have one of their best seasons of the last few years, they're great locker room presences, feels like everyone likes them, they get along with everyone. How could you not bring them back? Jock Peterson's the same way. Like when he's pimping home runs, flipping that bat, doing I'm him, I'm that guy. Like who doesn't love Jock Peterson? And just wait till we get to Jocktober. The D-backs make it to the playoffs and we get into October baseball and we get to see Jock Peterson, a little Jocktober, especially if it's D-backs versus LA and we get some big home runs from Jock. It's going to be going crazy in Arizona. It's going to be going insane in LA. I can't wait for the playoffs. Jock Peterson is a guy that the D-backs have to bring back. Again, just like Randall Grichuk, you look at the numbers for Jock Peterson, he is the clutchest player on this D-backs team. Leads the team with OPS with runners in scoring position at 1143. He has one of the highest averages as well, 329 average of runners in scoring position. Like he's been absolutely insane in those clutch situations, and the D-backs absolutely have to bring him back next season. And also, price tag $14 million. Again, it's a mutual option like a Randall Grichuk. And so, does Jock Peterson think he can get more than that? I actually think that's a perfect price tag for him, a DH who only platoons, who doesn't play defense at all. I think $14 million for what he provides is the perfect price tag for him. And I'm hoping both parties can agree to that number for next season. Then how about this guy? Merrill Kelly is on the list. He has a club option. I don't see any way that the D-backs don't pick this up, right? Merrill Kelly was a diamond in the rough discovered by the D-backs. And I have to admit, when Merrill Kelly first started pitching with Arizona, I was not really in on him. This guy from overseas, from Korea, first year in the major leagues. He was 30 years old as a rookie, led the National League in losses, if you remember, as a rookie in 2019 with 14, a 4.42 ERA. He had a pretty high whip. It wasn't like he was a big strikeout artist that threw like 96, 97. I was like, what's so special about Merrill Kelly? I was like, he looks like an innings eater, number 4 pitcher for your ball club, especially a mediocre ball club like Arizona at the time. And since then, definitely I've come around on Merrill Kelly. He has been a true frontline starter. I think he's one of the most underrated pitchers in the sport. D-backs don't get to the World Series without him last year. They don't win their lone World Series game without Merrill Kelly last season. He is the definition of a dog. 2.25 ERA in the postseason last year, 6 earned runs in 24 innings pitched. We all love Merrill Kelly. He has been on and off the injured list, or really just on the injured list for most of this season, and he's finally healthy right now. We're praying he has a good start tomorrow as he starts to build momentum as we get closer to the postseason. But he's a guy, once we get to the playoffs, I have no worries about him struggling or, faulting under pressure and not being ready. I think once those lights are bright, once we're in that playoff setting, I think Merrill Kelly is going to dominate his opponent. So I'm not worried about him at all. Of course, I want to see a good outing from him in the against the Texas Rangers game number 2 and from him moving forward. But once we're actually in the postseason, I'm not worried about Merrill Kelly struggling any longer once the playoffs start. So the D-backs have to bring him back. And again, $7 million club option. There's no way the D-backs say no to that. I mean, that is dirt cheap for a guy who has been your number 2 starter for like the last 3 seasons. Insane that Merrill Kelly is on that kind of price tag. So the D-backs are definitely bringing him back. And then a guy that has a player option. The D-backs don't get to decide this one. I think D-backs fans would all hope. I think D-backs fans are all hoping he declines it. Jordan Montgomery, $25 million player option. He has been horrendous. He has been Madison Bumgarner bad this season. I think all D-backs fans are actually saying, hey, Monty, you know what? We know you beat us in the World Series. You have been good the last 3 years, but you've been so bad this season. You've left a bad taste in our mouth for complaining about how hot our stadium is. Please decline the option and move on with yourself. I think that's what D-backs Nation is saying. So I hope that happens as well, because the Jordan Montgomery experience has not been that fun in Arizona this season. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. And say goodbye to my kitty. Deuces.